The most interesting facts about penguins begin with the first descriptions of these remarkable in every way inhabitants of the animal world. They are unable to fly in the air, but compensate for this deficiency with the ability to move beautifully in the water in search of food. These birds are endowed with a body that has a thorax with a strongly muscled and fairly streamlined shape, with little lateral compression and feathering. The streamlined nature of the body gives added comfort when moving in the water. The head of this bird does not appear to be particularly large in relation to the body and is located on a short, but high mobility and flexibility factor neck. Penguins have a rather large, sharp, and powerful beak. These representatives of the animal world can see well enough in the water, but become short-sighted on land. In the process of evolution, and based on the lifestyle of penguins, their wings took the form of flippers, which have elastic characteristics, which allows them to make actually rotational movements in the water. In some ways, this movement resembles the work of a propeller. It is the wings that create useful work when the penguins move in the water, while the legs act as rudders and are stretched straight back when swimming. Penguins have thick and short legs with 4 toes with swimming webs, which are remarkably extended backwards. This peculiarity of the structure of this bird makes it adhere only vertically while standing and moving on the ground surface, and the tail, consisting of long and stiff feathers, serves as an additional support for a standing position. A distinctive feature of the penguin skeleton is considered to be the bone structure. It is not hollow, tubular in nature, as in all birds, but looks like the bone component of marine mammals. And as an inner protective layer against low temperatures in these birds acts as a fat layer of 3 centimeters. Quite frequent plumage of penguins consists of short and small feathers, tightly fitting to the body, protecting the bird from contact with low-temperature environment. Most of the feathers are rod-shaped. At the same time, all penguins have virtually the same coloration, a white abdominal part of the body and a black, dark back. And to increase water resistance near the tail part of the body, the birds cover their feathers with fat from a gland. During the change of plumage, molting, which happens once a year, penguins do not go out to sea, do not feed, and constantly take shelter from cold winds. The molt itself is uneven because the feathers do not grow at the same time at different rates. This makes it possible to avoid hypothermia, as the process of changing the insulating feather layer is done in stages. In addition, penguins are endowed with the ability to change their own body temperature in certain parameters. It gives additional opportunity for birds to resist the low temperatures of the environment. Penguins spend in the aquatic environment a lot of time, about half of the life cycle, can dive to a depth of 3 meters and deeper, overcoming in a swim of 25 kilometers at an average speed of 8 to 10 kilometers/h. Some species of the birds in question can dive to depths of up to 120 m. And in the absence of the breeding period and care for their chicks, penguins are able to travel long distances of up to 1,000 kilometers to the sea. These birds perform their movements in water in 3 ways: swimming on the surface of the water surface, jumping out of water, and underwater movements resembling the flight of a bird. When moving on the surface of the water, only the head of the penguin remains visible, while the rest of the body is involved in the work of swimming, and the wings perform almost helical movements. When jumping out of the water, birds save energy, due to the fact that the resistance of the air is much less than the resistance of the water. Such jumps also help penguins avoid contact with predators. This helps penguins' powerful muscles. And when diving, very small air bubbles cling to the feathers of birds, which affect the reduction of water resistance, which becomes an energy-saving factor. When moving on land in a strictly horizontal position, penguins look clumsy. But when the need to move faster arises, the birds lie down on their belly and move by gliding at 5 kilometers per hour. These movements use their legs and wings as controls. Life expectancy of different species varies from 6 to 25 years, and they differ physically very much among themselves. There are species which are 120 centimeters tall and weigh 40 kilograms, and others which are 30 centimeters tall and weigh 1 kilogram. Penguin reproduction. 2 to 3 years after birth, penguins become sexually mature and capable of reproduction. Leading a colonial way of life, the birds adhere to the matriarchy principle, when females decide for themselves which male is worthy to create a mating pair. At the same time, penguins adhere to monogamous relations, couples arise and remain throughout their lives. When a mating union occurs, pairs find seclusion to mate. Then, after a period allotted by nature, the females lay 1 to 2 eggs in the nest. And the process of hatching the eggs is handed over to the male. At this time, it is the responsibility of the female to fully provide food for herself as well as for the male, who is busy incubating the eggs. After 1 to 5 months, blind penguins emerge from the eggs, and in a few weeks they will see the light. This moment in the life of penguins poses the greatest danger. A real Pomeranian hunt for helpless chicks begins, and the loss of penguins, given the harsh weather conditions, the risk of starvation and attacks of skuas, can be over 50%. Young penguins make their first acquaintance with the water element only after the first change of plumage, when their bodies are sufficiently waterproof. Growing up, the growing penguins group in small groups to better repel external threats.